Episode 19. How I added level numbers to screens. This also was used to make the lives number show up as well. There's plenty of ways to accomplish this, but I was thinking of what works best for my game that I'm creating. This might give you some ideas, but it's not a definitive way of accomplishing this task. Alright, step 1. Logically, think about the problem and a possible solution in steps. This is how I usually go about making scripts or trying to figure out features I want to add to games that aren't already made by other people. Um, so the problem is we need to display a number of the upcoming level on the screen, or possibly your lives, or um, more complicated that I'm not going to cover in this would be how to put like an 8-digit score or something like that on the screen. Um, that would take a lot of code and scripting and stuff, but it's not outside of possibilities. So we could accomplish this in many ways. One way that takes a lot of space and probably will limit your monsters would be to create a monster that appears as this and just place it on the screen. That wouldn't require really any coding as much. You just would just create a monster, put it on the screen that looks like the number that you want to put there. That wouldn't be checking for your lives or anything like that. This would just be to put the number for the level that you got coming up next or something. We're not going to do this. That's just one way of doing things, and it's simple, but that's too simple for this. We're going to do something else. I don't use my user screen bites for a lot of things, so I plan on using the final one, which would be um, user screen bite +7. If you followed Drexler's tutorials, you'll know why we set it up with the +7. If you don't have that his way, it would be 0.7 if you're just following the original. So that would be user screen byte 0.7. It's the one we're going to be using in our script today. Alright, so how would we do this logically? I could use it, that simple checkpoint tile I use. It's only for these kind of screens, so it wouldn't really affect anything else. So it's not like it would waste a tile or waste a spot in my game for anything else. So there's always that method to use. I could have it like write down numbers on the screen similar to like how the pause does that when you hit the pause button and you hit start, or the title screen, how I have that skull on the title screen that you hit select and it goes down to the next. It goes from hard, or goes from easy to hard, and then it has the last one reset the uh, flash save. It'll reset that, the high score. So that skull that I'm using, that could, something like that, how I'm drawing that, that's something similar to that could be done. Um, Also, if need be, we can reset the user screen byte once you leave the screen. That could be in like the post screen load. So if it was really messing up something, then you could always like, reset it or something. So that's always a safety thing, just in case you were like worried about something. You could always do that, but we're not going to need to because it doesn't really mess around with that. Alright, so part 2 would start when we actually start writing out the code in the script, making a script and editing possibly that script we were talking about, that simple checkpoint tile that I made in the previous video before this. Um, so the first thing you're going to want to do is back up the old one. So here I am in my game, then I go to my project folder. As I usually suggest, when you're making a new project, just say you're using the arcade platformer, you would copy that folder for that mod, and then you would name it whatever your project is for the tiles you would want to use that you would be editing in your game. So when I started making my game originally, I did that. I do that for every game. So in my tiles, you'll see checkpoint any object. You want to make a copy of that, so just copy it. And then the copy you made, you're going to want to rename that like the backup. Just in case something happens to the original. So there's the backup copy I made. This is all the script does. Can even technically put it down here because skip really doesn't do anything right now. So I did something like that in mine, but I didn't. I renamed skip and got rid of skip anyway, so you'll see in a moment. Alright, so this is like the backup that we have from last time. Now I'm going to show you what I did to edit the script. Alright, so now you've made a backup, you're going to be writing the code first. You want to check the user screen byte, and then if it's a 0, write the first entry, then jump to the end of the script. Well, you wouldn't want to. Yeah, you'd after the user screen byte or whatever, you'd want to jump to the end of the script. If you're doing your lives check or any of your other checks before that, that would be like for variables or something, you would want to put that before this check then, if you're jumping to the end of the script. Or else you would just jump to, say, the check for your lives or the check for your ammo or something. So anyway, you would do that. Then that goes, then you would do the first tile collision change. And then jump to the next check and repeat the process. Alright, so I've commented out a bunch of things. So here's the parts from the original. End of script. Tile collision change. So with everything commented out that I added, I'm going to test it and show you that it's operating as it did at the end of the last video. There's something I didn't talk about in the previous video. I just wanted to show you. On this screen, this is my tile layout. So my screen 39, that's right here, that's the BCKSSCHR29. I put these words on here. Technically, if you really wanted to, you could write them into the script before you do all your checks. Before you do say the check for your level, check for the bonus and stuff like that. The bonus is something else. It's bonus level. It'll show up on a different screen of the way. Anyway, if you're gonna do the check for level, check for your lives. I just have rest for now. You could write that in to the script, but this is, easier to just get the letters in there through this way, through the tiles. So when I made the screen, I just put them in there like this. So that was just I forgot to mention that before. It's not writing these words. Alright, so here we have the game start. And then after a second, it goes to the game. The checkpoint there, when I die on this stage, I didn't put the word rest in there. I didn't copy that screen over yet. But when I die in this stage, that script would make it so I come back there, just like we showed in the previous video. So because I commented out all that stuff, it's still operating like it did in our backup that we have, which is right there, the backup. As shown, if you check out the backup, it's just these. That's what, 2, 3, 4 lines of code. 2, 3, 4 lines of code, same code. This, like I said previously, is renamed because I was trying to make the names more clever. Skip isn't really exactly clever if you're doing something after it. You would want to tell somebody, oh, I'm going to skip it, not, skip the checks or something. Anyway, um, and you wouldn't do it like a tile change if you're skipping everything completely. So first we're going to do the script for checking my lives. So my lives in my game is got one place. It doesn't have two places. It's just a single um digit variable. Start with 3 lives. Unless you're on hard mode, it'll start you with 1 life right now. Also covered in a previous video. So when you're on this screen, you want to make sure that you have your monster set up on the tile that you're going to use for this. Not this monster. This, just completely ignore that. This tile, or these tiles, you want to make sure you have like something like this on there. Whatever you're going to make. So if you're making symbols, if you're going to make letters, you're going to have a lot of letters. These are necessary. These are just things that are specific to my game. I've covered in my previous videos. If you've been following, you know exactly what they're for. So, yeah, Easter eggs. Alright, back to this. We have this commented out, so it's checking. You have 1 life. If you have 0 lives, you wouldn't be here. So obviously we can't even check for 0 because it just wouldn't make sense. So you check for 1 life. It's 1 life. It's going to draw this to the screen. What this is doing is it's loading the location that I have the number 1 on that tile. Right there. Stores it into temp A. Then it's saying draw a sprite HUD that's covered in the pause, or I think it's also in that one with the skull or whatever. And it's saying this location, which is the horizontal, like in that old Outer Limits, we control the horizontal, we control the vertical. So that's the horizontal, and then that's the vertical. So 6F would put it horizontally, like around here where the rest is. And then the other one, which is the 5F, would put it like right in almost in the middle. Should be around where under that V is. And so it's saying, okay, do that. Afterward, jump to check user screen byte. Check user screen byte is down here. This is where I would check the user screen byte, but we're not going to do that yet. We're just going to keep that open because it's jumping there. We need to have the reference at least available. So we're doing that. It says that, do the plus, do that, do the plus. So if it's if it's not 1, you got 2 lives, you got 3 lives, you got 4 lives, you got 5 lives, etc., etc. It's going to jump to the plus. And this plus is going to do the same thing literally over again, but it's going to check for 2. And then this is the location that 2 is. Stores it in temp A. This one, I forget what this one does, but oh man, when you mess around with that number, it really, you should check it out. It's some craziness. Um, one of these I think mirrors the object. Um, one of these is the palette. I think that's this one. Is which palette to choose. So if you have this on 0, it's going to choose. Now this is what you got to keep in mind. So you have screen it's on. You got your monster group for that invisible monster that you're going to have on tile 1 if you're using tile 1 like me. If you're using the very bottom one, which is actually the smartest way to do it, is go to another bank completely. Go to tile 7 or something like that and use that with your monster on there, which I don't have. I'm doing it this way. But then you would want to have these palettes set up. So this is 0, this is 1, 2, this is 3. Yeah, I know it's 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's numbered 0, 1, 2, 3. Now we can test this really quickly. So I change up, say, those colors, right? So that would be 2. This is 0. This is 1. This is 2. All right. So right in this script, first we're going to make it so it could say 3 also, just in case. So I could just show you, I guess, the numbers. All right. So that's all you need for this part. Just checking 3, up to 3. If you had 4 lives, it wouldn't show anything right now. So we're changing this number to 0. Now it's going to make it gray. So this is the draw 1, draw 2, draw 3. Save that. Now let's run it. Whoa there, before we run it, let's comment out this, because this, I even wrote in here, for some odd reason it makes it change like immediately and it really weirds it out. So we're just going to comment that out real quick. Right, so on easy it's going to show 3, hard it's going to show 1. So on easy, there's 3. See it's gray? It goes there. Now if I was to die, check it out, there's 2, but it's gray. Alright, and then I could reset the game, and we could check this out on hard. That 1, because you start with 1 life on hard. So that's like single digit checking. Like I said, you gotta check for double digits and other things like that. Now I'm gonna change the color to that green, which we said was 2. So because I'm gonna show it again. On this screen, in the info, it's got these palettes. 0, 1, 2, 3. So 3 and 0 are going to be the same if I was to make it 3. But I made it 2. It's going to be like I believe like a really dark green. Yeah, there's that dark green. And then same deal. If you die, it's going to show 2. Show 1 when you got 1. Or if I reset it and do hard, it's going to, start it at 1. So it's going to draw these. And after that check, it goes to checking the user screen byte. Now, what we want to use the user screen byte for, possibly, and I'm doing this in my game, is to make it do like Mario, like 1-1 for level 1, 1-2 for level 1, 2. Then when you get through the first world, after you beat the first end boss, which in my game, spoiler alert, it's this dude, and then it's bonus level, and then it's this. So what we're going to do is check the user screen byte. As I mentioned, you're going to make it +7 because the plus makes it check this user screen byte, the one that's changing right now. Um, that's what the 7th one, which is the 8th one. It's, 0, +1, +2, +3, all the way to 7. Pretty much same code as above. It's checking. Now this one is checking for 0. Because it is a user screen byte. They start at 0 anyway. So it's going to do that. Then after it's done checking, it's just going to do the jump to the next check. So now it's drawing a number based on user screen byte. So it's going to draw 1-1 on that screen. And then it's going to just jump to the end of the script because we don't have it checking for anything else. There's nothing else we want to draw after that. Those are the only things it draws. But in this case, unlike the first one, where we were only drawing one number on the screen or one object on the screen, this draws the number based on it was only drawing 1, or it was drawing 2, or it was drawing 3, or etc., etc., if we added more code in there. This is drawing 3, or it's drawing these 3, or it would draw another 3. So it's basically just saying, check for this. If it's got this number, go here to this instance of this. If not, jump to the next. Check this again, etc., etc. It does the same thing down here. Checks the user screen byte. If it's 0, go here, do that. If you pushed it up to 1, it's going to be 1, 2. technically you could make anything here. You could do freaking it kills the player instead of drawing the friggin' thing on the screen. Whatever you really want to could add to your score or something, honestly. You could put anything really in here, but this is what we're choosing to do. But then after these checks, we're just jump to the end of the script. The user screen bites could be used to check for a lot of things, draw a lot of things. If you follow Drexler's tutorials, you probably used all your user screen bites or most of them to do the checks for the options. If you followed the tutorials, you know what I'm talking about at this moment about those. But it's just you. If you didn't do those tutorials, you'll have these user screen bites. If you did, you might only have a couple available. That's also why we're using 7, because maybe you used the earlier ones for other things. Okay, so right now it's on 0, so that means that it's going to say 1 1 on the screen, or at least it should. And with the numbers the way they are, 1 1 is going to be in white, and your lives will be in dark green. Oops, maybe I didn't save the script. Always hit that save button. There you go, just like I said. Now, as you know, that will change your lives, but not your level, because that's still that screen. And if you want to test it out, you could change this to 1. And if you're following the code, it's going to say, just like in the other instance, if it's checking for 1, if it's 1, draw 1-2. And again, those are referenced on here. 1 dash is over here, and then 2. So you can make 1-3, etc., by just basically this part. Ooh, actually, I would rather, if I was doing it, I would copy this. Something like that. And then you would check for, yeah, I might as well show you how to do it real quick. Check for 2. And then what number are you drawing on the screen? 1-3. Because that's the next 8 over. It's counting by 8. So F3 would be there. Or F2 would be there. F3 would be at number 4. So that would be draws 2. Nope, draws 3. And literally, that's all you would have to change to draw for these numbers if you have them the way mine are set up. I don't have a 0 because, are you drawing 1-0? Or no, you're not going to start 1. It goes all the way to 9 or something, maybe, unless you want to go with 10 and stuff like that. Then you gotta put a 4th object or number in there and stuff like that. That would change the code around. So anyway, this is a good example of adding it in there, and that should make 1-3 show up. And then really quick, I'm going to change this back to the white. I apologize, sometimes these videos run a little long. I swear I'm not trying to be long in the tooth on any of this. It takes a while sometimes, and if you're explaining things, sometimes you want to be as verbose as possible when explaining, because you might reach more people if you use different words or methods. So there you go. There's that. It says 1-3. So I just showed you how to write that 3 on there. So you need to make sure again the monsters are on the tile. The numbers are on the tile that your monster that's empty or blank, the invisible monster that I use. Originally in the previous video, I had it set on 1 or on 0. I had to set it to 1. So right here in the monster group, this was actually on tile 0. Every time I go back to it, it shows tile 0 again. It's really weird. So anyway, it's on tile 1 right now. So be careful in case there's like a bug with that resetting back to the tile 0 or something. If you're not using tile 0, if you're using a different one, make sure you check it and it's the same one. If you go back over it again, I'm going to do right now. Look at that, it's saying tile 0 again. I think that it always defaults like that, or it's because it was originally saved like that. So you make sure, because if you go off of it, it might auto save it. So like right now, if I go and play it, it might mess up my game. And I didn't even hit save button that time. All I did was click off of it. Yeah, that really messed up my game, see? So you want to make sure, if you're using any tiles other than, 0, maybe this is the thing, or if you already saved something, that you do that, then just go over it again. So don't click on it again or anything like that. Don't mess around with that stuff. Just get off of there and stay off of that one. So I want to make sure I showed that just in case people had a problem with that. Maybe it's a bug, maybe it's just like a default kind of behavior of sorts. Like if you click on a monster on here, maybe automatically it says tile 0 to start, but I don't think it does. So if I go in like this, look at that, I went to tile 1, so I don't think it is. I think it's if you save something like a group originally in one, and then you go to another one, when you go on there again, I think it defaults back to what it originally was if you clicked on it, and then clicking away from something is like the auto save, so just be careful of that, please. Um, you use hexadecimal if you're going to be locating the locations on your screen. I did that already in mine with either by doing the math or trial and error, but like, check this out. So, if you're going to do low numbers in here for when you're looking for those numbers that are on that sheet, just remember it starts every screen by checking the game object sheet. So this sheet's checked first, and then around like halfway through, so it'd be like 130, something like that, whatever that is in hex. It's gonna start over here, and it's gonna go through all these. Easy way to just figure that out is on the bottom here. These are the Fs. F0, F1, F2, F3, F4, F5, 6, F7, F8, F9. Those are the Fs. There's the F9 for the dash that I was just showing. Um, That's easier for that if you're going to do it with the monster tile sheet like I was showing. But if you're going to get, say, a number in hex, there's an easy way of doing it. You just go right here in these plugins. A lot of people probably don't use this in NESmaker. You just go down here. If you want like a number, like say like, boy, I'm checking against number 12. Because, I did say, or, even 10. Because, you did 09. 09 ended up here. Why, when I go to write down 10, doesn't it work? Well, that's because 10 is 0A, etc., until you get to 16. That's 10. So everything's written hex, so you have to keep that in mind, just like a lot of stuff in NESmaker, it's written hex. Just ignore this binary stuff down here. You don't need to think about that. That's for others, other scripts and stuff like that. That's an easy calculator for that stuff. But yeah, so that's a tool that's built in NESmaker that you can use for, calculating your hexadecimal values. Or, yeah, so the tile collision changed to blank, but then it messes up the numbers really quickly, so I didn't do that. I commented out that line of code. So what the blank tile collision thing does is it just doesn't change the tile collision afterward. With my screens and my specific game and stuff, with these checkpoint tiles, it's not necessary. Because there's nothing else going on the screen, really. But that's really about it. There's like, some trial and error when you're messing around with certain things. You know, you just gotta understand the limits of the code. Like I said, it's not writing the actual value from that, variable. It's writing what you're telling it to based on the value of that variable. So, that might be an important factor. Like, you need to write down what you're doing. If you're gonna have numbers, you could have even like a symbol show up or something. Like you're doing kind of when you're writing, HUD or an object, you could have a symbol or it looks like a monster or something appear on the screen or something on these screens based on all this. This is just a tile that does this. This tile has a lot of stuff in it and it's affected by anything that steps on it. And then after checking all this, it goes to the end of the script. And we're making sure that this is commented out. So this is an example of this. I've included this file for download. And basically this is the end of the video. I hope that you enjoyed it, learned something. Just understand that like this isn't the best solution. It's a decent solution. If it causes problems in your game or something, hit me up or, I'm pretty sure it's easy enough script for most people to understand. I try to keep it simple in my videos for people so that easy to intermediate scripting is basically done and nothing too complex. So I don't know. I hope everybody enjoys this and you learn a thing or two. Have a great night.